again and welcome to the Cameron Files, exclusively on KGRAradio.com. Here we are again with another episode. We've got Grant Cameron on deck live at, KGRA here, just gathering things together. Got a great guest tonight. I can't wait for you folks to hear the stories that are coming your way. Grant has done an exceptional job, along with the associate producer, the intrepid Desta Barnaby. They just keep bringing it every week, despite the travels that Grant has had to participate in to get to Toronto, to Vancouver, and all over. He's one of these guys that never stops, and we're all thankful for it. Grant, welcome to another edition of your show, The Cameron Files. How you doing this week, brother?
Doing just fine, Race. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate your hosting me and allowing me and the guests I have to sort of put out a message.
We've got a lot of information to get to and a wonderful guest. I don't want to eat up a lot of time here. Let's get the show going.
So good evening, everybody. It's July 10th, 2018. This is Grant Cameron, and you're listening to the Cameron Files. Thanks for taking your valuable time to listen to what I've got to say. And as always, fasten your seatbelts because I like to go very, very fast. Just want to do a little bit of an update today, but I don't want to take away from my guest because he's one of the sort of the highlight people that I've met in the last number of years. But I just a little bit of an update. People think that there really is not much going on with UFOs, that the story sort of died out. I can tell you that's exactly the opposite. There is actual major media has contacted me. We'll update this in the future. They're interested in a lot of the different stories that are going around. Desta Barnaby and Nate from KGRA are helping to sort of get my website back up again. It's sort of been out of order for quite a while. And when we do, we're going to put some stuff up there. One of the things we are going to put up is Joe Firmage, the guy who had the vision in the late 1990s, the .com executive who sort of gave up his big career to chase UFO propulsion, travel in space, had a vision, somebody coming into his room in the 1990s. He gives it all up, and then he went into secrecy, really hasn't said anything. He has just spoken. I don't have right to the video or the audio, but I do have the transcript, and we will be putting that up at my website, what Joe Firmage has said. I have a number of articles going up, and I also have all the documents that I recovered from the Clinton Library a number of years ago, which I'll be putting on the website, and that's thousands of pages of UFO documents, including all the Greer documents, which some of those I have sort of stuck on the net. The last thing is the Zendras, and again, there's a very short update. Major media has taken interest in the Zendra story, which is this ability of some groups of Latino contactees to open these interdimensional portals, and they call them Zendras. They've taken interest in that. I've been notified there are some actual photographs that were involved in some, I believe, in Spain. So we'll be chasing that story. Hopefully I can get some of the witnesses on and what's happening there. But my guest tonight is what I really want to get to. I don't want to cut into this. My guest lists himself as a major Hollywood A-lister. He contacted me a number of months ago to detail encounters he was having. He's only been having these for a number of months. I'm going to leave the intro very, very short, just to sort of mention to you, he actually has two members of his direct family with stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This is a major sort of player, and as he and I both discussed, there's a lot of stuff going on in his life, and we want to get out the message he has been given. For whatever reason, he's been chosen to give this message, and a lot of people want the videos, access to his name, the videos that he's getting. But we're going to try as much as we can to stick to the message. So I'm going to talk to him about how his incident occurred today and the message that he's gotten. And I must say, finally, in all the people I've ever met in my life, this is one of the nicest guys, and I think Desta Barnaby would agree. This is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. It just doesn't seem like a Hollywood type figure. And his name is Chris, and he's waiting on the line here from Malibu, California. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
Good, Grant. Nice to be here. Thank you so much again for having me. I appreciate it so much. It's everything. Thank you. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, super. Yeah. So you said you were home today working in the backyard. Didn't have to go into town. So let's get to what happened to you. You don't have any background whatsoever. Like your family has no UFO experiences. You have no UFO experiences. And all of a sudden, I guess it's 8 or 9 months ago, your life suddenly changes. Can you describe what happens?
Yeah. I grew up in this family that is in entertainment, and my mom is an artist. My dad is a businessman type of person. And, my mom has always been kind of spiritual, metaphysical type, but not overly so. My dad is straight business, money, deals, but zero paranormal talk, zero UFO, anything, nothing of the sort at all. I mean, I grew up and I watched Star Wars as a kid, but that was the extent of that, and so, basically that was it. And so, I'm living my life. And like I've said before, I'm in the middle part of my life. And about 9 months ago, I'm at my house during the day. It's about 12 noon. And I'm walking outside, and we're having trash cans basically delivered by the city. And I'm walking down my driveway, and I'm picking up the trash cans, and I'm turning around and walking back. And as I'm walking back to the house up the driveway, I kind of casually look up in the sky, and I see above the house, maybe, I don't know, a couple 100 feet above the house, I see this thing that looks like a giant walnut sitting in the sky. It's got these pieces of metal that are coming off each side of it that are look like an X. So basically the body is like a walnut with a piece of metal on each side that's sort of in an X pattern. It's bigger than a helicopter. It's just hovering there in the sky. It's not making any sound. And, it's definitely not a plane. And I'm sitting there watching this thing for 10 minutes. I'm just staring at this thing, and it's hovering there. And I think to myself, wow, this is a UFO. I'm having this realization. And as I have that realization, the thing lights up golden, like a really kind of a bright LED golden color where the entire body goes golden. And I had, I was just kind of total in shock and amazement. And as I'm saying, wow, UFO, sort of commenting in my head more and more, the thing starts to kind of do this pattern, where the entire body of it starts to literally do, if you're looking at a computer screen and you're typing in basically symbols, the entire thing goes from sort of, wait, let me back up for a second. So I'm looking at this thing before, and before I sort of realize, hey, that's a UFO, I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the sun shining off one side. So I see one side kind of glinting in the sun, which is like metal color. Other side is dark. So then after speeding forward, when I say, oh, it's a UFO, it lights up golden. And then as I have this more chatter in my head about what I'm seeing to myself, it starts doing these patterns, like these golden patterns where the entire craft starts to literally do kind of these weird symbols in golden bright color. So I'm watching this thing for literally 25, 30 minutes, having this kind of interaction, totally blown away, totally it's a surreal moment because you're sitting there standing in front of your house in the middle of the day, blue skies, cars are driving down the street, and you're staring at a UFO in the sky. And yeah, so I had this experience and I saw it and I watched it for 25, 30 minutes and it all stayed in the same place. It didn't move, no sound. And, I kind of realized, oh my God, I got to get back to work, but I can't leave this moment. And then it slowly started to kind of drift away up into the sky. And that was basically the first moment of how this all started. So I rambled a little bit, but that's how it started.
And so you tell your wife about this, or you just sort of keep it to yourself? What happens next?
Right. Now, yeah. So basically, the full deal is so I have this experience that day. I'm totally, if you can imagine, totally beside myself. Just I don't even know how to really process it. It's just so unbelievable, but it happened, and I sat there for 30 minutes and watched this thing. So I pick up the phone. I go back to work. I stop for a minute after working for a few minutes, and I got to call somebody. So I call my mom on the phone, And this is a woman that I've been super close with my whole life, talked about deep conversations. I went through drug addiction, got sober, like she's seen me at my worst, best, worst, everything. I've revealed everything to her. Tight, close relationship. So I tell her, I say, Mom, oh my God, you can't believe what I just saw. I saw this UFO and it went golden. And I got this reaction from her that was shocking to me. It was this kind of visceral sort of like pushback from her that I had never heard in my entire life from her. And she was like trying to be sweet, but saying, oh, okay, honey, that's great. That's really, are you okay? That kind of thing. So I can immediately register for me, like, yeah, I mean, it was, that alone was the weirdest thing I had experienced in my life with her. It was like two of these moments. And so I realized, sort of as we're talking, as she's sort of going through this, like, are you okay thing, that I better back off the subject. So I did, and I kind of eased out of that conversation. And I sat there for a minute after I hung up the phone, and I was just kind of like, wow, that was weird. So that night I go to my wife and, I tell her about the experience, and the same thing. This is another woman, been married 14 years. And it was almost like an angry kind of weird reaction. Like she just did not want to hear about it. It was kind of upset with me. It was very odd. But she's sort of, she's a proper type of gal and very polite, so she kind of like let it go. So basically what happened, so I had to kind of just bottle up this experience. And prior to that, maybe a year before this happening, I had discovered the Stephen Greer documentaries, really absolutely love those. And then I think I saw the second one, or maybe that was the first one was a couple years. And then the second one came like the year before this experience. And I saw that. And I was so blown away by these experiences, the film, and I remember I'd showed them to my family and they were like, I don't know. I think it's all fake, BS, whatever.
Yeah.
And so basically I'd seen these movies, and I remember in those movies basically Stephen doing this, meditation, how you call them in, and using the laser light. So basically that next day I ran out to, after having my experience, I ran out to the store and I bought myself this laser pointer just in case, I didn't know what would happen. And so that following night, basically it's around 9 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to take out the trash. So I go outside, I take out the trash, and I think to myself, you know what, I'm going to try this basically to see what happens, do a little meditation, do the laser pointer. So I do that, and I do the meditation, and then I do the laser pointer in the sky, and then 5 or 10 minutes later, all of a sudden, like bigger than a helicopter, I see this strobe light, maybe 500 feet above our house, this big strobe circle of light. It does like 5 or 6 of these things. I'm screaming to my wife, get your butt out here, get out here, Danny, get out here. She comes running out. And she's like, walks out. She's like, what? I go, look up at the sky. And she looks up, and this thing does like 14 or 15 of these strobes. She's like, wait a minute. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I don't want to know. I don't like this. I'm going inside. I don't know what I'm looking at, and runs inside, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? This is like, for me, it was like, how could you not just be like totally engrossed with this thing? So it did that. It did like 5 or 6 or 8 of them for me. And then like 14 or 15 for her. It was like it moved, and it did, like 50 feet here and then strobe. So, and then she ran inside. So that was that night. And so basically a long story short is, the following day, now I'm like, okay, I can't let this go, So the following day, that night around dusk, I do the meditation, I do the laser pointer, and it happens again. And I have these strobes, like, basically you'll, maybe 500 feet up, you see like a strobe of white light in a perfect circle, like a couple of them, then it moves and it does. So that kind of thing literally went on, Grant, every single night for a couple months. And then what happened is it started to move forward. It started to get more close and personal. And so what would happen is, I made a ritual every night, like around dusk, 6:30, 7 o'clock, I would do the meditation, do the laser, and I would have the strobes. And then what happened is a couple months into it, is I would do the meditation, the strobe, and then I would see, instead of the strobe light, I would see maybe 1,000 feet up, like a dot of light fly across the entire horizon within 2 seconds. But then you would see something would pop out of the back of this thing, 1,000 feet up. It would be a little like orb, a golden orb, usually golden or white, would pop out of it. This thing would be 1,000 feet up. This golden orb would come flying all the way down from the sky. Literally, I'm standing in my driveway looking at our house, looking above our roof. The thing would fly all the way down to maybe 2 or 3 feet above the roof, sit there, and I would be hit with this. You know what, Grant? You get hit with this emotion. It's like the most profound, loving feeling that you've ever felt in your life times a zillion. You get hit with this emotion. It's this loving feeling, but then in the emotion is information. And I'm not talking about technical information, how to build rocket ships or how to make 0-point energy or whatever. All those things are cool, but it was more like a total experience. It was like if you had a 4-hour conversation with somebody and it was the best conversation of your life and you digested that conversation, you felt uplifted and expanded. It was all of that in 2 or 3 seconds. The orb would come above the roof. I would stand there. I would look at it. I would be absolutely terrified, not from it, but because I had, imagine having an experience that you had zero reference to, that you could not look up on Google, that you could not replicate from any point in your life and history. It was a totally unknown object, a totally unknown experience. I didn't know if I was going to get eaten, taken away, the house was going to be, I didn't know what, like a laser or a torpedo sandwich in my back end. I didn't know. So I'm sitting there. And this thing, it flies down, and I'm watching this thing fly down from 1,000 feet. It's a golden orb. I'm thinking to myself, holy Jesus, this thing is coming to me to meet me. And I'm like excited, overwhelmed, and terrified, viscerally, like life or death. Lands there, and you get blasted with this feeling like the most profound cradle a baby feels from its mother, the first ever time it ever feels that, beyond that. And this information, this experience, like everything, and the experience for me was everything is connected. We are everything. There is no separation. Everything is alive. Everything is, moving in circles with us connected. We are moving with the atmosphere, the planets, the waves, the wind is speaking to you, whispering sweetness in your ear, telling you, you're my soul, brother. You're my friend from a distant life. Everything, like these crazy kind of soul experiences that you're getting on a visceral level that you can't process with your brain, but your soul knows it and your body feels it and your body has wisdom and your body receives it and you get this experience. All happens in 2 or 3 seconds. And then what happens, it's sitting there above your roof and it slowly disappears and it's still there, but you can't see it anymore, but you can feel it. And so I had those experiences. Those happened a bunch of times for a couple of months. And also what they would do is, they would do that and then basically disappear. And then I thought, okay, it's over. And then I'd turn around to kind of walk, maybe around the house to go into the backside door. And I'd look up in the sky and literally 10 feet above, maybe 15, 20 feet above my head, from left to right, maybe, 20 feet across, 10 feet above my head, out of the nothingness, you'd hear this, and you'd see this white electric sparkle. Then you'd see this golden fireball, the size of a baseball, would literally come out of nothingness, shoot across the sky, 20 feet up, 10 or 15 feet across your point of view, into nothingness and disappear. And that was the way they said goodbye. That was like, hey, buddy, we love you. Here's another little bonus donut for you. And they'd show that. And they've done that multiple times. And so I know they do this as a way to say goodbye, And they also, if they can't show up where like it's a craft kind of thing, because for whatever reasons they have, they'll do this as a way to say hello. Like there have been many nights that I've been out there and haven't seen them. And then all of a sudden, guess what? There's a little crackle fireball, golden white fireball that flies across the roof. And I'm like, I knew you were there. So they do these things. They do these other things that I was experiencing, what I call Tinkerbell lights. Basically, you know, Tinkerbell, the Disney Tinkerbell. So you know when you watch Tinkerbell, right? So you know when you're watching the Wonderful World of Disney, when the opening credits, and you see Tinkerbell fly across the screen, and all this little fairy dust kind of like pops. They have this thing where they do that too. So basically, you'll be standing out there in the middle of the night, nothingness, and all of a sudden you hear like, and you see these little sparkles of light and fairy dust kind of popping, like, you know, up in a line, and then like a little zigzag, and this little pops of fairy. I mean, it's crazy, but it happens, and it's real, and you're seeing this, and the only thing it looks like I could compare it to is Tinkerbell. So that went on from, you know, I'm trying to condense this all because so much has happened. So that went on for months, and you know, in the first couple months, I'm driving through Malibu, and I'm coming back from the city back to our house, and I'm driving through a canyon. It's during the daytime. I'm like, okay, all right, give me something. I know you're real, but if you're really real, you know, give me something. I mean, I knew they were real, but I don't even know why I said I know you're real. But just I said, okay, if I know if you're real, give me something I don't know about that's concrete, that I have no idea about. So all of a sudden, a word pops into my head: biocentric. And I'm like, wow, biocentric. I have no idea what that is, biocentric. So I wrote it down, plus another name came through, which was the name of the being that I actually now am connected to. There are a couple of them, but one in particular, I only know his name. But so biocentric. So I go home and I Google biocentric, and I look up, and I find out that the world's leading stem cell researcher, Dr. Robert Lanza, has just written a book called Biocentrism, How Everything is Consciousness, how consciousness, and basically they're calling him like a genius. It's a Pulitzer Prize type of thing, a reimagining of humanity's connection to everything. So basically biocentrism is everything is conscious, how through consciousness man can unlock the doorway to the cosmos and beyond. And so I was like, and then the definition of biocentric, the Wikipedia one, is even more specific to the experience, how man has no inherent right over anything else. Everything is alive and conscious. Everything has equal value. Everything has equal place at the table of choices, the cosmic choices, if you want to call that. You know, everything is entitled to pursue their way of life and not be infringed upon, and everything is consciousness and alive and connected, and, you know, goes on. So basically, I was so blown away by this. And some of the future messages that I got following that experience a couple of days later was like, they were like, look, we want you to make contact with Dr. Robert Lanza. We want you to do a documentary on biocentrism and consciousness in general. Okay. And I was, what? Sorry.
Let's do that after the break. We have to go to a break. Let's do that after the break. You can describe your contact to Dr. Robert Lanza. Very interesting. Now we get into the message. Beautiful. Thanks. Perfect.
You're listening to the Cameron Files, ladies and gentlemen, right here exclusively on KGRA Radio. The big mystery guest is on live with Grant tonight. We're calling him Chris, and we're thankful that he's taken the time to come on. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This interview will continue right after this break. Stay with us.
Wouldn't you love to have a really sharp memory? More than ever before, people of all ages are struggling with memory problems and brain fog. Whether your poor memory is age-related or due to the effects of chronic stress, you can now improve your memory while reducing stress with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. That's right, you get 2 products rolled into one. Some ingredients in Calm and Clever enhance memory and help retain newly learned information more effectively, while other ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce stress by maintaining healthy levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. To sharpen your mind and feel calm and centered, try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll love the way you feel and think. To order Calm and Clever, call 1-800-728-9948 or visit calmandclever.com. 1-800-728-9948 or calmandclever.com.
I want you to meet the owner of Life-Changing Tea, Ronnie McMullen, because this will change your life. It's so good for you. And I love the fact that Ronnie McMullen is a former talk show host who knows talk radio. This is a guy who knows great health and came up with this amazing product called Get the Tea. I'm going to tell you all about it. Ronnie, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mike?
I'm great. I got to hear how you went from talk radio to the CEO of Get the Tea.
It's a weird story. I'll make it quick. I got sick. And so as soon as I got sick, I looked for natural remedies. And next thing you know, I was in there getting stuff together and putting things together, learning about what makes you better, what doesn't. And the rest is history. That was 11, 12 years ago. People are they're waking up. They're saying, you know what, we don't want the GMOs anymore. We don't want the garbage pesticides, herbicides. So we want to get cleansed. And that's exactly what Life Change Tea does.
To order, go to getthetea.com. Not available in stores. Go to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com.
Hi, it's AJ from Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. Have you been searching for unique items to create or add to your sacred space? What about tools for your holistic healing? Or those one-of-a-kind magical ingredients to manifest your desires? Well, look no more, because Vibes has a variety of items to assist you in your spiritual journey. From crystals to candles, incense to books, tapestries to jewelry, OnlineVibes.com has what you're seeking. We even have some thoughtful and mindful gifts to share with your friends and family too. Visit us at OnlineVibes.com from the comfort of your home, or give us a call at 385-244-1099 to have your order beautifully packaged and sent directly to you or a loved one. And right now, take advantage of the coupon code KGRA at checkout to receive 15% off any order. Remember, online, VIBEZ.com.
This is Richard Dolan announcing a new exclusive content website, richarddolanmembers.com. I've been working on this for a long time. Unique weekly podcasts that you won't hear anywhere else, fresh articles and blog posts, a special video series entitled Off the Cuff with Richard Dolan, regular Ask Me Anything style live chat sessions, and more. This is a full-featured member site where you will get my insights, my updates, and be able to interact directly with me. To learn more, go to richarddolanmembers.com.
Now streaming free on Amazon Prime from UFO TV, the movie Packing for Mars.
The space program, as most people understand it, is completely a front.
There's a whole nother reality going on out there.
There really is another caste in the human race.
People go through their lives on autopilot all the time. But what people don't realize is that they need the truth.
See the movie Packing for Mars, now streaming on Amazon Prime from UFO TV.
For years, the KGRA digital broadcast station has been your contact for live UFO paranormal talk radio worldwide, bringing you the top names in research and investigations 7 nights a week. Our listeners connect to the KGRA on various platforms like TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and many more. Now, you can stream your favorite paranormal talk radio shows with our new fully integrated custom KGRA mobile apps for Android and iPhones. Listen to your favorite paranormal talk shows from any mobile device 24/7, free with smartphone or tablet. Utilize custom features to access news, show pages, archives, contests, events, and live interactive chat rooms. Set show notification alerts and never miss your favorite live programs. All free and available to download in Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Welcome back to the Cameron Files, exclusively here on KGRAradio.com. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Ray Hobbs, the producer, and I just want to let you all know this is a fascinating interview. I hope you caught the first of it. If you didn't, the archive will be available directly following the show, so you can go to KGRAradio.com/archives. Look up the Cameron Files there, banner, click on it, and it'll be the very first interview. And you can download it to any mobile device, desktop, whatever you've got. Take it with you, listen on demand anywhere you go. Grant, let's go ahead and get started with the interview, the second part of tonight's interview. Everybody's really excited.
Okay, thanks, Race. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome back, Chris. Just a little bit of a heads up here. Chris contacted me, I guess would be going back 6 months, maybe a little bit more than that, with his experience. And the reason I was really enthralled with his story is the message that he's about to talk about with biocentrism and stuff like that is exactly the same message I got in February 26, 2012, when I had my download experience. And so when Chris contacted me, I was just enthralled that it's exactly the same message, this thing of consciousness. And I can relate to Chris that, you know, his experience with his mother and with his wife, where people are sort of like horrified that you go there. And I was actually just talking to somebody during the week who identified a number of people who are absolutely horrified that I've gone from the president's files to this consciousness thing. That, you know, poor Cameron, he's sort of, you got to watch out when you talk to him because he's into this consciousness thing. This is exactly the same message. So when we left before the break, Chris was talking about this Dr. Robert Lanza, who the New York Times identified as one of the top 3 scientists in the world. And where we're going to go now is I want Chris to tell us the story of contacting Lanza and sort of dropping everything, not going indirectly, but just basically putting it on the table and the reaction he gets and what's going to be happening in the future. So,
okay, right. So thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it. So I had this experience where I asked if if you're real, give me something. And they told me biocentrism, and then I Googled it and found out all that information, and then discovered about Robert Lanza, and was totally blown away because it was so specific to everything that I had gone through and was learning from this experience. And, and then over a following couple days, basically the message that I got was they want me to contact Dr. Lanza and basically, do a documentary on biocentrism and consciousness in general, and I was like, okay, I know people in this entertainment world, but I don't know anybody in the science world. I have some friends that are sort of connected, but I thought, why not? I'll just go for it, So I spent a while kind of looking for his contact and then found it and basically called him up one day, and he didn't pick up the phone, and I thought, thank God, maybe I can just leave the guy a message or something. And so I left him a message, and I kind of chickened out, and I just said, hi, this is, Christopher, I need to speak to you, blah, blah, whatever it is, call me back. And he actually called me back, and I missed the call. And then I thought, oh God, you know what? I need to call him back, and I need to So I called him back again, and he picks up the phone. And so basically I introduced myself and, kind of give a little bit of background to sort of give myself some credibility of where I come from and, the business and blah, blah, blah. Not that he would care at all, but, I was kind of buying time for myself to unload this story. So basically he's like, okay, so what can I do for you, Christopher? So I was like, gulp, gulp, double gulp. I was like, all right. So I basically said, hey, this is what happened, and I told him verbatim everything. I told him verbatim how his biocentric everything, the whole deal. And there was a quiet, long pause, and then he came back and he said, look, Christopher, I'm a scientist, and I, really have to kind of adhere to all of that, But let me just tell you one thing. He said, we share a very common experience here. He goes, I'm not going to go into great detail about that, but let me just say, whatever you need for this documentary, I will do 100% for free. For free. Now, if you know anything about the entertainment world when you're doing film or documentary on famous people or anything, you always have to make contracts. You always have to do rights deals where you have to pay large amounts of money to get the rights for a certain amount of time to be able to develop a screenplay or whatever it is. It's a major legal thing. The guy said, I will do it 100% for free. I will put my assistant on it right away, which he did. The assistant sent me within a couple days like a 15-page outline of how to do, just everything. I was so blown away. But, again, these kind of synchronicities, when you start having these experiences and interacting with them, this kind of stuff happens all the time. So that was how that all happened. And it was an amazing thing.
And he didn't want any money, right?
He wanted zero money from me. And not only did he want zero money, but he put his assistant, who's a very busy guy, to write a basic dossier on how to, basically roll out biocentrism, because it's kind of a complex thing. In a documentary film for the general public, it wasn't like a 1 or 2 page email. It was a, 10, 15 page long thing. So, So, and they continuously send me notes and all these things. So, it was totally for free. And it was a total home run. I mean, it was just like across the board, he wants that to happen. So
I think you mentioned to me that was the first time that ever happened to you in Hollywood. That someone didn't want anything. That
was the first time that's ever happened to me, ever. And with a lot of people I know who produce movies and different things, when I've told them sort of brief versions of this story, they can't believe it. Yeah.
And so you started to work on it, and it matches up with what you got in the beginning when you got these sort of download messages with the love and all that kind of stuff. It matches what you were getting in those initial moments.
When you say matches, you mean his
with the biocentric stuff he was sending you.
No, it's all across the board connected 100%. And I'll tell you something else. So in this documentary, the focus is going to be biocentricism, but I also think it would be amazing to have really amazing people from across the board just talk about consciousness or life lessons or these kind of things. So there's a person in my life who is a very famous person, probably maybe one of the top 2 or 3 people in the world for the last 40 years, an iconic person. Yeah. This is a person who's been in my life since I was 5 or 6 years old. Super close with this person. I have throughout my life a couple times tried to do business with this person, and they've always shut me down. They say, Christopher, we love you. I love you, but I'm not interested in doing business with you. Thank you very much. I'll just stay somebody who loves you. And so basically during this process, after I talked to Robert Lanza and I was sort of developing this documentary, I emailed this person and I said, I'm doing this documentary on consciousness and biocentrism, and I really want to talk to you about being in the documentary. And usually this person takes weeks to get back because they're busy. They're touring, they're doing this, they're doing that. I got an email back within probably a minute or two. And the email basically was like, Christopher, oh my God, wait a minute. She's like, I'm writing my memoir right now. I'm writing about our time together when we lived as a family. I can't, I'm talking and I'm writing about you specifically right now. But she's like, more importantly, I'm writing a huge section on consciousness and how consciousness is the only way that we can save humanity basically from this point on. And she's like, yes, across the board. So I've had those kind of things. So that happened first with Robert Lanza, then it happened with her. And then there's a couple other major people, some politicians, another scientist, where everybody has basically said yes across and for free. And so, so it doesn't feel like I know great forces are at work trying to make this thing happen. And I'm just going with it.
And so what do you think the message, like you've talked a lot, like, and it's kind of surprised, this gets into the video thing that, Desta and I were kind of surprised that you didn't have a smartphone and that you were sending us these emails that were like 10 or 12 pages long with all the kind of the message stuff you're getting, very detailed with the love and the connection and the all this kind of stuff. Can you sort of sum up for the people what is the ultimate message of who the intelligence behind the phenomenon is? Who are they and what's this all about?
Okay, so basically, they show up, in my experience, they show up as UFOs to get your attention, but that's not what it's about at all. These first couple of months were experiences with UFOs and different things that they could do, and it's basically a way to get you socialized to the experience of being there and seeing them, because it's a terrifying, earth-shattering type of thing. You can't go back basically to what you knew before as real life after you have these experiences, because everything has changed. And so what they do is they come into your life, they show up that way, but it's not about UFOs, it's not about videos. And so basically what happened is, they started, you get these different messages about oneness and connection and earth and all these things through the sort of UFO experience. But what basically happened for me is, it was like 6 or 7 months of kind of going through that experience. And then a couple months ago, and I've always had normal eyesight, you know what I mean? So like a normal person. So I'm seeing these UFOs, think that's not normal. But other than that, I wasn't seeing any other things. So basically what happened is one night, a couple months ago, and this is like 7 months into it, I'm sitting in my bedroom. I'm looking out in the garden at 11 o'clock at night with my little kitty Ween. We're looking out in the garden, and all of a sudden I see these flashes of blackness flying everywhere, like little streaks of light. And I go, oh, that's interesting. I don't know what that is. What is that? And basically that went on for a couple days. And then a couple days later, I started seeing, instead of the flashes of black light, I'm seeing literally hundreds of these little smoke-colored orbs flying everywhere. They're flying outside of the house. They're flying through the walls into the house. They're flying all around me. They're flying all through the house. They're everywhere. And I'm like, this is crazy. It's very total paranormal thing. And then a couple days later, what happens is I start seeing all those orbs, but with those orbs, I'm seeing these smoke beams. They look like mist, smoke. They appear and they're like these long lines of smoke that are like twisting and turning around your face and kind of like undulating and popping in and popping out. And so then a couple days later, we have the smoke beams and we have the orbs in the house and going everywhere. And then what happens is I start to see, with all of that, I start to see these little dots of golden and red and purple light with sparkles. So like it'll pop in, like pop, 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 like little golden, little red, little purple lights, sparkles around them. And so I'm now, every single night since the last 2 months, basically I'm seeing 24/7 at night, all of this action. And so what they explained to me is this, in no uncertain terms. So basically, it's not like a long conversation that they tell you, and I'm telepathically basically connecting with them every single day, all night. It's one-word answers. It's a couple lines here. But what they're telling me is, Christopher, it's not about UFOs. It's about understanding consciousness, and that consciousness is actually a physical material state. And if you want to think about the natural world, when you say, what's the natural world? The natural world is, okay, this physical world we live in, we see grass, we see planes flying, we see cars driving, we pinch our skin, we feel our skin, we see other people. That's the natural world as far as we know it. That's not the natural world. The natural world, 99.9% of the natural physical material world is consciousness and energy. It's an actual physical state. And so what they're doing, what they're showing me is they're saying, Christopher, wanted to get your attention by the UFOs to make you understand we're here, check this out, sort of get my focus, blow my mind. But then they wanted to teach me about what the real deal is. The real deal is it's not videos, it's not craft in the sky, it's not zero-point energy, although those things are amazing and great. It's they want me to understand that the real physical material world is this world of consciousness and energy. I'm a visual person. So they basically did something to my eyesight. They changed my consciousness, or a bit of both. So basically now every single night and days, if I'm in a room with a little darkness, all I have to do is, look, I can be sitting with my wife watching TV and I don't see him. And I can, because my consciousness is focused with being with my wife, watching TV. But if I literally, and I swear to God, verbatim what I'm telling you, this is physically how it happens. If I literally go, okay, love you being family, and I don't have to say love you being family, but that's what I always say because I love them so much and I feel so unbelievably lucky to be seeing this and experience it. But basically what I'm doing is I just have to adjust my consciousness a little bit, make a little bit of like a soft eyes kind of thing, kind of relax. And all of a sudden, poof, there's the smoke orb twisting and turning around my face. There's an orb flying around. There's a little sparkles of light. Grant, I sit in my bed every night and I lay down with the lights off and I'm awake and all of this action is going on. They're coming. They're going. There's the dots of light. There's the smoke orbs flying. There's orbs flying all around. And I sit there and I hold my hand out. And I've done this multiple times because I think am I losing my effing mind or am I really seeing this? I'll hold my hand out and there's orbs flying all around me, all around the house, smoke beams popping and twisting and turning and doing a little dance here and there. And I hold my hand out and I go, love you, energy being family. That's what I call the dots of light, energy being family. I go, love you, energy being family, love you. Hold my hand out and all of a sudden, pop, 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 in front of my fingers and all these little dots of golden and purple light with sparkles start to appear and they start to double and triple and quadruple so that I'm looking at my hand. I can feel my hand, but parts of my fingers are disappearing. I'm seeing the tips of my fingers, but the middle parts of my fingers are gone. They're gone. And I'm going, wait a minute. I can feel my arm. I can feel my hand. I can see the tips of my fingers. So what is it? Is my hand disappearing or is there something physically here with me where their mass is obstructing the view of the middle parts of my fingers? Mm-hmm. And they hear me because I say love you being family in my head and they multiply and double in front of my hand and I feel a soft cool breeze between my fingers and I see them. They're conscious. All these beings are conscious. So what they're teaching me is it's not about UFOs. It's not about any of this technical stuff. I mean, that's great stuff. It goes with it. But what they want us to learn is we need to embrace consciousness as not some place that we close our eyes and meditate about. It's an actual physical reality where multiple beings live with us all the time. They're all around us, here and now with us. Maybe they come from other places too. I'm sure they do, but they're here with us all around. They're conscious. And this is a physical place that is 99% of the natural world. It's not this physical material world. So if we embrace that idea, just for a second, say, what if the physical natural world is this place of energy and consciousness where we, our little orbs, our bodies die, but we don't. we are these little orbs of light with these other little beings flying around. I'm looking at these things. There's some human. There's some beings that are flying around as orbs. There's the smoke beings. But this is the universe. And in between these energy and dots of smoke light is this purple static energy, this purple red, like looks like smoke on it, looks like snow on a TV. You know, snow on a TV? Yep. Imagine that, but purple or red. In between all these little beings everywhere is this purple and red connective energy that's touching them, touching me, touching everything. And I asked them, I said, what is that? And they said, that's God. They said, wow. That's a physical expression of the Creator. That's wow. God.
Wow. Before you had told me that you hear these people with negative ET experiences. They had described to you once about using fear, about using people's mind, what's in their mind. Can you describe that story, what they told you?
Yeah. So basically, you know, what they do is when they come and have contact experiences, they scan a person's consciousness, everything that they are, every moment they've experienced, what they're like, what they don't like, who they are as people. And they do that as a way to create a basic alphabet, a basic language to communicate with that person. They want to be, because they don't want to unload their experience with the first meeting or first couple of meetings with people. They don't want to unload their experience and their history on somebody. So they use a person's memories, who they are, how they speak, all the things that they like, don't like, as a way to communicate with them, as a language, as a common ground to set up the beginnings of a relationship. So if somebody is a hateful person or a bigoted person or a violent person, they use those experiences that person it does in their life as a way to interact, to teach, to communicate with. They don't know anything really about people, you know, when they first meet you. So they scan who you are, and that's their way to understand who you are and their way to communicate. They communicate in your own voice most of the time, and they use these experiences. So, but if you're a really super loving person, then you kind of get that set of experiences. Yeah. So it's not about imposing, in my opinion, and it could be wrong, but this is my experience. It's not about opposing these, you know, agendas. It's basically a way to communicate. And if they're accessing that from a person, they're basically just giving back to that person as a way to communicate with them, you know, something that they see in them that they figure, oh, okay, that must be what that person is interested in learning about. And that's basically what they've told me.
Okay, so we've got about 4 minutes left, and this is going to have to be pretty short, but it's intense. Okay, you decide that you seeing these objects flying around, and you decide that you're gonna film this stuff, and you've put these videos up at my YouTube channel, which is Whitehouse UFO. People can go see these videos that you've posted, and a lot of people think that you got the videos, and then you saw these orbs and stuff like that. And what was very strange when I found out that you're in Hollywood, you've been there 30 years doing whatever, and you didn't work a camera. You had no cell phone. You had nothing. You're not a technological guy, that you decided that you were going to film the orb beings. So the orbs came first. You saw the orbs, then the videos. Can you talk a little bit about your attempt to try to film these objects that you're seeing?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you know, I've never been a technical guy, and especially with the, you know, with Facebook and all these different things coming up, I've never been on Facebook. I've never been on Twitter. I never had an iPhone. I literally have a $20 beater phone from Costco that has a camera that I don't know how to use. Basically these experiences started happening, and basically, you know, after a couple months of these experiences happening, because I couldn't use my little beater cell phone because I really don't know how to use the camera, and I barely know how to use the text. I don't even know how to open files. I'm totally retarded. But I also had this kind of weird thing, like I just didn't want to be a part of social media or any of those things. I just stayed away from that stuff, even though it's probably a good thing. So basically what happened is I started having these experiences with my eyeballs, seeing them, experience them. And then after a couple of months, I thought, okay, I better videotape some of this stuff. And I went out and bought an infrared camera, a Bushnell infrared camera, and I started filming. And so long story short is, I'll put in new batteries in the camera. They get drained within a minute. I literally go through 4 or 5 packs of batteries, fresh batteries, to get 2 or 3 minutes of film. When I film these things, they do some kind of strobe thing, so I can film them. I can export the footage into my computer. But when it goes to exporting from the computer up to YouTube, the file is corrupted. And so what I had to figure out is what was going on. And so basically, there's some kind of strobe that they do that doesn't allow me to export the raw footage. So I literally had to learn how to cut around the flashes that were corrupting the footage to be able to get it to YouTube. And so that's basically what happened with that.
Yeah. And then you bought a more advanced camera. You're still working at this, correct?
Yeah. So basically, I got a new advanced camera recently. It's a new kind of infrared camera that does color infrared, but also this whole kind of depth perception. So that's something I'm going to start using as well. And but yeah, I mean, I would literally be texting you these long messages of everything on my little $20 Verizon phone, if you can imagine. It's literally a flip phone.
Wow.
I know.
It's absolutely fascinating story, and I hope people can watch the videos, and I hope you can come on, maybe even for some like little short 15-minute updates, because your story, as we sort of outlined but didn't really explain, your story is intensified as it's gone along. You started using a laser, then you didn't have to use the laser, and it's almost like they've led you along by the hand through this experience where you have more and more and more and more intense contact all the time, bigger messages, right?
Can I just say something really quickly? So basically what happened is, yes, in the beginning I had to do the meditation laser. That stopped after a couple months, where basically all I had to do was kind of go outside a certain time and they would show up. Let me say something about contact with them. It's not about being in the right spot or finding out a UFO hotspot, in my opinion. All that anyone has to do is stand outside at some point alone, darkness, or even during the daytime, and open up your consciousness and project your consciousness, not wanting to see them, but expecting to connect with a friend, and come with a loving intention, inside out, projecting your consciousness in that way where you almost feel like you're expanded, where your brain can touch the clouds, like where you're just kind of expanded. And that is the way to connect, not wanting them to be there, but expecting to see a close friend or family member.
Beautiful. Wonderful way to end it. Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate what you've taught me. And I really appreciate that your message coincides with the same message I got a number of years ago. So thanks a lot. And let's talk again soon.
Thank you, Grant. Love you and Desta. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Cameron Files with Grant Cameron. Any broadcast, rebroadcast, or duplication of this program or program content without express written permission of the KGRADP is strictly prohibited. The Cameron Files, in direct cooperation with the internet website presidentialufo.com. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will see you right back here same time next week. Have a great night.